Hello, today I will be showing you how to use a two-post lift with this GMC Yukon. First step some tools you're going to need are a lift and safety glasses. First step you're going to do is inspect the machine before you do anything. So what I would check for is check for any leaks with hydraulic fluid. Make sure the fluid is half an inch under this line, or just a little bit over or whatever. Make sure that your release lever for the latches works. You want to check that you are all the way on the ground with your pads. You want to push this lever in. Make sure that we're not off the ground. And then you want to check the mobility of the lift arm. So you would move it to see how far forward you can go, how far back. Then you would check the pads themselves. Make sure there's nothing like cracks or some rust on them. So I'd also check the steps. So this would be the high step, low step. On some vehicles like trucks, you're going to have this stepping step. You don't want to lift off of that, and you don't want your lift arms to hit on it. So that's why you would use these steps for if, let's say, you have a really lower or like high one. So then you would use this one. For this one's like, since it's like higher up, I would use this one because this one isn't like as far down. This one I would use for like ones that are lowered down, so that way they wouldn't hit on the arm. So then I'd go on the other side and check the other side. We're good. Oh, we're good here. Now onto the actual vehicle. When you are driving a bigger car, bigger vehicle like a truck, some longer SUVs, we have this yellow pad down here which tells us where to go. If you have a longer truck or SUV or some longer cars, you want to be in front, like in front of this bump. For normal vehicles, you want to be in the middle, and then for smaller vehicles or compact vehicles, you want to be at the very back. You want to be as centered as you can. One of the customers brought in their car and we had to guide them, so it's not perfect, but you'll have to do. Next, another thing we would check for is any rust on the frame. So if we would go under. Let me get a light. We would check for the frame. This is the frame for this Yukon. This one is solid. You don't want something that's cracking, breaking, falling apart, has like a lot of holes in it. This one is in rough condition, but it is strong enough so that we can lift on it. Normally SUVs and trucks have a unibody, which means just one frame. On passenger vehicles or compact cars, there would be a body seam molding that we would lift off of, but since this is SUV, and this has a unibody, so we're gonna lift off this. One thing to think about is to be more stable on your lift, you want to be the closest to the wheels, so like higher up. So I wouldn't put it right back here, I'd put it somewhere around this area. That makes it more stable, so that way when you lift and let's say you're pulling on something on the back, it'll be or on the front, I mean, if I pull something on the front, the pad's gonna be right there, and it'll be more stable, so I could do whatever I want. Now let's go on to the back and check the back. Check right here again. You do not want to lift off of this. You want to lift on this metal, because this metal is this is part of the frame. Yet again, it is a little rusted, but yet again, it's not in like horrible condition. You want to look for something worse than this. You want to be the furthest back to be more stable when you're in the air. So I'm going to set my pads up now. Alright. So on the front, remember we have this step right here, so we do not want to end up hitting it. So what we're going to do is flip either step, whichever one you would want, but I would prefer this longer one. Another thing you have to check for before you start is make sure that your arms can go as far forward as they can, and then so now let's set it up. Yet again, I said let's go as far forward as we can. So here, alright. So we want to be right on it. Remember, we will end up moving it at some point if it's wrong. You want to keep this closest to the edge of the metal, because we don't want to end up breaking anything or lifting off the wrong point. So what we're going to do is move it to where we think. So I'm going to set up all four, and then we're going to come back and show you what it would look like on all four. So pause. Okay, so now I set up all my pads. Now we can go around. For the next step would be check all your pads to make sure that they're in the same spot. So you want to try to keep it in line with that one. Again, I also moved this one closer as furthest back as I could, so right here would be okay. Alright, so I'm gonna go check the front ones too. This one is in line with the other one, so let me get that light out from under there, because when you're lifting, you do not want anything under the car. So alright, so now for the next step, I'm not sure what number step this is. What you would do, go. Okay, so this next step, what we're going to do is lift the arms up, so they're just under the lift point. So when we go to check it again, we can move it or lower it again, and then move the arms accordingly. So I'm going to lift just so that they're right under the lift points. And this next, the next thing you would do is go around and check all the pads to make sure that they're in the right spot. From what I can see, this one's right, and now I'm going to go to the back one. That one's good. This one is good. It's just a little off, but just moving it a little. I'll give it a try. And I don't trust that one, so what if we would have to move something, what you can do is pull this lever up and then move your pad. Now this, once I set this down, it stops the arm from going wherever. So I believe and I know that this one is good. So now that we checked them, we'll go around, or we already checked them, so now what we would do is start lifting. One thing to know, or always remember, is we always have some rules on here. So it says allow 2 seconds between motor starts and stops. If you don't, the motor will end up burning out, and that is not a good thing. So since I know that, I'm going to keep it in one constant push. Don't stop and start, stop and stop. Just stop and start without 2 seconds between the motor start and stop. So another thing to know is when lifting, you make sure that no one is in front of the vehicle or behind the vehicle. So I check here, make sure no one crosses through when I'm lifting. Just so that if the vehicle would slip off the pads, that it wouldn't end up like falling off and then hitting them. Safety concerns. So now I check the front, check the back, and then let everyone know around that we are lifting. Hey Noah, we're lifting. That's good. Now I start one thing to always be aware of is make sure that you're lifting in sync. So if you see one side raising slower than the other, you should stop and check what's wrong with that lift arm, if it's something with the lift, or if it slid off the pads, and we don't want the car end up falling off towards one side or the other, and then falling off, and then like ruining our customers. Also, you want to stop between 5 to 6 inches above the ground for each tire. And then what you would do to make sure that the vehicle is stable, you would take the front and make sure that there's not a lot of play. See, it's just longer, so that's why it wiggles so much. We are good. So now, as soon as that is done, or we'll check that. We can also check the pads again. So this one's good. This one's good. This one's good. And this last one is good. Hey, Brandon, get out of the way. Okay, so now that we checked that all the pads have not moved and the vehicle is stable, we can raise it up as far as you want. One thing also is there is safety latch. There are safety latches that when the vehicle is up in the air at a certain spot, we could stop and then lower it down on safety latches. Those safety latches will keep it at a specific height. It might vary depending on your lift type, but also just always remember that if you see one side falling or raising slower than the other, to stop and then lower it down as much as possible. So I'm going to start raising, and always check that there's no one in front. So since we're all clear, we're going to raise it up as high as we can. As you can hear, those little clicks are the safety ledges. Different noise than usual, so at that moment you know that you can lower it onto safety latches. So to lower it onto safety latches, you would not hold this lever down because that will disengage the safety latches. So all you would have to do is make sure no one's under it, behind it, or in front of it and behind it. As soon as the coast is clear, we can lower it. And like I said, the safety latches will catch and it won't lower anymore. Then we would check the latches, the pads, make sure that they're in a good spot before we go under it. And if you feel that the pads are safe, or the pads are in the right spot, and you feel like it's safe to go, it's good to go under. So now I can go under here and do whatever I need to do. Thank you for watching. This is how now you've successfully lifted a vehicle.